The steak was still sizzling on my plate when Tyler Hutchinson stood up like he was about to give some grand speech. Medium rare, perfect char marks. Fork halfway to my mouth. I'm Richardson, by the way. 51 years old, been doing logistics since I got out of the Air Force 23 years ago. We did it, Tyler said, raising his wine glass. Biggest quarterly close in Mega Hall history. Everyone clapped, a few guys even cheered. I figured we'd toast the client and get back to dinner, normal company celebration stuff, but Tyler kept going. My team has been essential to this success. Well, most of them. He grinned, eyes scanning the table. Sometimes you have to cut the dead weight to keep the machine running efficiently. People laughed. That uncomfortable kind of laugh when you're not sure if someone's joking. Then Tyler looked straight at me. Richardson here is no longer with the company, effective immediately. The laughter died fast. You could hear forks hitting plates. Tyler kept talking like I wasn't sitting 3 feet away. Great guy, lots of experience, but we're moving toward digital-first solutions. We need acceleration, not legacy thinking. I didn't move. My fork was still in the air. I looked down the table. Julia from HR wouldn't meet my eyes. Even the new intern looked away. The clients looked like they'd walked into the wrong funeral. Let's toast to the future, Tyler finished, raising his glass again. I didn't raise mine. I stood up slow, legs feeling weird under me. That's when a voice cut through the silence. Excuse me, are you the guy who built the Fleetmaster prototype in 2019? I turned. Some woman in a navy suit 2 tables over. Silver hair, sharp eyes. Yeah, I said, still numb. She slid a business card across the gap between tables. Elizabeth Grant, Wakefield Capital, 9 a.m. tomorrow. That was it. She didn't say anything else. Just nodded and went back to her drink. I walked out of that restaurant on autopilot, face hot, ears ringing. The card felt heavy in my hand. Here's the thing. When you're 51 and just got canned in front of a room full of people, that little piece of cardstock feels like either a lifeline or your obituary. Couldn't tell which yet. I sat on my bed all night with that card. Didn't even take my shoes off. My phone was blowing up. People I hadn't heard from in months suddenly checking in. Tough break, man. Let me know if you want to talk. Half of them had probably clapped at that dinner. Some were worse. Recruiters smelling blood in the water. One guy even texted, "Sometimes you need to get pushed off the ledge to learn you can fly." I wanted to reply that he was a mid-level account manager who should shut up, but I didn't reply to anyone. Look, I'm not going to lie. Part of me was thinking about my mortgage. Lisa and I had refinanced 2 years ago, and the payments weren't getting any smaller. 401k took a hit during COVID, just like everybody else's. At 51, you start doing math differently. How many more job searches can you handle? How many more times can you explain why the last position wasn't a good fit? At 5 a.m., I showered, shaved, put on a clean shirt. My hands were still shaking. The card was in my wallet. I kept checking to make sure it was still there. At 8:45, I walked through the glass doors of Wakefield Capital in downtown Chicago. Clean, quiet, expensive carpet. The kind of place where even the air conditioning sounds smart. The receptionist barely looked at me until I said Elizabeth Grant's name. Then she stood up fast. 17th floor. She's expecting you. The elevator felt like it took forever. Doors opened to wood paneling and silence. Another receptionist just nodded toward an office down the hall. Elizabeth Grant didn't shake my hand, didn't offer coffee, just pointed to a chair. You built something 5 years ahead of what's out there, she said. No small talk. I've seen the documentation. She dropped a folder on the table. I opened it. My handwriting, my diagrams, routing logic in black pen, flowcharts with red marks. One page had a coffee ring stain. I remembered making that stain during an all-nighter in 2021, trying to get the cold chain monitoring perfect. They watered it down, she said, turned it into PowerPoint slides for executives. But underneath, this is real innovation. This is yours. I didn't know what to say. She didn't wait for me to figure it out. I want you to rebuild it, exactly how it was meant to be. Quietly. Funded, secure, total autonomy. What's the catch? You disappear. No LinkedIn updates, no industry conferences, no press. We'll set up a shell company. You report through it, no public ties to Wakefield until we're ready. My stomach dropped. Think you can work in the shadows for a while? I stared at the folder. Back in Iraq, we used to run supply convoys through territories where you couldn't trust the maps. You learned to build redundant systems, backup routes, ways to keep moving when the obvious path got blown up. This felt like that kind of mission. I need a day to think about it. You have an hour. I looked her in the eye. Then yes. She slid a thick packet across the table. NDA, funding terms, corporate structure. Read it, sign it, take it with you. I didn't read every page, just enough to know I was signing up for something bigger than me. I walked out of that building carrying the packet in one hand and my old life in the other. By the time I hit the sidewalk, the shame was still there, but something else was cutting through it, something I hadn't felt in months. Hope, maybe. I named the shell company Titan Logistics LLC. Nothing fancy, just a Delaware entity with no logo, no website, no trail. The real work happened in a third-floor space above a dental office in Oak Park. Blacked-out windows, hardwired servers, local power, no cloud backups, no remote access. Everything stayed in that room. So anyway, I had to build a team, and I knew exactly who to call first. Bradley Thompson answered on the second ring. Brad's 55, been in QA since the Gulf War. Guy's got this way of looking at code like he's defusing a bomb. Methodical, careful, doesn't miss anything. They restructured him out last fall because some VP said testing wasn't value driving. Brad's response was to laugh and ask if they wanted to explain that to the FDA when their cold chain system killed someone. You still have the original specs? He asked when I called. Better. I have funding. About damn time. I'm in. Michael Patterson came next. 52 years old, displaced engineer who'd been with Megahall for 12 years before they laid him off during modernization. Mike's got this quiet anger about the whole thing, not the explosive kind. Just this steady burn that keeps him working until 2 a.m. making sure every line of code is perfect. His laugh was bitter when I explained the situation. Revenge project? Rebuilding project? Same thing. What name do I use? Something you won't miss. Diana Rodriguez joined last. 48 years old, former Army logistics turned freelance DevOps. Woman can build a deployment pipeline in her sleep and secure it like Fort Knox. HR had frozen her out after she questioned some uptime reports that turned out to be completely fabricated. She showed up to our first meeting with 2 burner phones and a look that said she'd been waiting for this call. This time she said, "We ghost them first." Here's the thing about working with people who've been screwed over. They don't make the same mistakes twice. We operated like we were running a classified mission. Burner phones only, encrypted messaging through open source networks, no personal devices anywhere near the workspace. Every code commit was signed with aliases, logs wiped daily. I printed backups and locked them in a steel drawer with an actual key. We didn't talk much during builds. Time was everything, and we all knew it. I stayed most nights until the janitor unlocked the building in the morning, watching the prototype quietly reroute loads across simulated networks, shaving costs, predicting bottlenecks before they formed. The system moved like it was alive. Back in Iraq, I'd managed supply convoys across 3 provinces, keeping medical supplies cold through 120-degree heat and IED-damaged roads. You learn to think 5 moves ahead, build systems that adapt when the world tries to break them. That's what this was, all those hard-learned lessons built into something that could think faster than any human logistics coordinator. Back at Megahall, their corrupted version used to take 12 minutes to calculate a full regional fleet optimization. Our rebuilt system ran the same calculations in under 45 seconds. Every time I watched it execute flawlessly, I knew they'd buried the wrong thing. No celebrations, no champagne, just this silence that felt earned. Elizabeth called every few weeks. Always brief, always sharp. Numbers look good. Stay invisible. Your time will come. Another time, remember, the first time they hear about you can't be from you. She was right. We weren't chasing publicity. We were building a loaded weapon quietly. No funding rounds, no leaks, no pitch decks, just raw progress, line by line. At 2:30 a.m. on a Tuesday, my burner phone lit up. Diana's encrypted message, check mid-state transit. They dropped Megahall. I sat up fast, heart already going. Mid-state was mid-tier freight, not headline material, but solid. Old school company, family-owned, the kind that sticks with vendors for years. They'd been with Megahall since 2018. I fired up my monitoring rig and ran a trace on their new routing patterns. The data was crystal clear. They'd switched to an optimization platform 3 days ago. No company name visible in the public records, but the load balancing signatures were unmistakably ours. Clean reroutes every 15 minutes, predictive weather adjustments, even our proprietary anomaly detection tags. I pinged the team through our secure channel. Midstate is using our system. It's live. Brad confirmed it within minutes. Optimization fingerprints match exactly. Someone leaked our pilot to them. Mike added, "They're not even trying to hide it." Diana's response was typically direct. They wanted it to leak. By morning, I'd traced 6 more regional haulers making quiet inquiries about our shell company. Not formal requests, just testing the waters. Calls to numbers that officially didn't exist, asking questions about capabilities that officially weren't available. 2 days later, carriers started calling directly. One COO whispered into the phone like he was dealing with classified material. "Your platform, Titan Logistics, right? We want to discuss terms." "We don't do demos," I said. "We run live pilots." "That's what we heard." "When can you start?" That's how it started. Whispers in trucking forums, quiet route optimizations running in the background, talk about the ghost platform that didn't crash when storms hit Oklahoma, or rails froze in Minnesota. Word spreads fast in logistics when something actually works. By week's end, we had stable operations in 8 states. Quiet deployments, 0 downtime, performance metrics that made Megahall's system look like it was running on a pocket calculator. Then we started seeing their system fall apart. Megahall's system started breaking down like a truck with sugar in the gas tank. APIs crashing, interface rollbacks, monitoring failures. The panic was showing in their support tickets. I still had contacts who'd forward me the occasional screenshot. Brad sent me a recording of their company-wide video call. Tyler standing in front of a whiteboard, red-faced and sweating. "This is not sabotage," he said, waving a marker around like a weapon. "It's poor documentation from legacy systems, unauthorized changes by contractors." He kept saying legacy like it was some kind of disease. Like the 20 years of institutional knowledge they'd flushed down the drain was something to be ashamed of. Diana was watching the recording with me. "He has no idea we're already operational." "Not yet," I said. That night, Elizabeth called. No greeting, straight to business. Soft launch worked. "Ready for the real thing?" I didn't hesitate. "We're ready." The next morning, our real-time performance reports showed we were outperforming Megahall by 45 to 60% across core metrics. Fuel savings, route efficiency, delay prevention. Even cold chain monitoring was tighter than anything they'd ever managed. But no press releases, no announcements. Just code doing what it was designed to do. Then the lawyers showed up. The cease and desist letter arrived like a slap across the face. Heavy paper, certified mail, 8 pages of legal threats. Immediate termination of proprietary intellectual property belonging to Megahall Dynamics. IP theft, corporate sabotage, misappropriation of trade secrets. They wanted me to shut down Titan and hand over everything. Code, architecture, even related concepts. Basically, they wanted me to pretend the last 25 years of my career never happened. I drove straight to Elizabeth's office with the letter burning a hole in my briefcase. She read the first page standing up. By page 3, she was already dialing her phone. "Morgan, got something for you? We'll meet in 30. Morgan was already waiting when we got there. Short hair, calm eyes, the kind of lawyer who smiles when other people panic. She didn't shake hands, just started reading with a pen in her hand. "They're claiming IP theft?" she asked Elizabeth while looking at me. "Yup." She smiled once. "This is going to be fun." For the next 2 hours, she built what I can only describe as a legal nuclear weapon. She wanted every document I had, the coffee-stained diagrams, the archived Slack messages I'd saved before they fired me, even old performance reviews where my bosses praised the innovative routing solutions Richardson developed. "You kept all this?" she asked. "Old Air Force habit. Document everything." "Good. They're about to wish they'd never heard your name." By the next morning, a 28-page response went out. Not a letter. A tactical strike. Every diagram time-stamped predating Megahall's patent filings by months. Screenshots of me sending designs to management before they killed the original project. Slack logs of my old boss calling it Richardson's baby and the system that's going to revolutionize how we do business. Even my original NDA, which clearly stated no IP claims unless explicitly purchased. which never happened. But Morgan didn't just respond. She filed a Delaware court complaint for fraudulent attribution and misuse of personal intellectual property. She was going for blood. "They'll see this on Bloomberg before it hits their inbox," she told Elizabeth. I leaned back in my chair. For the first time since this whole thing started, I wasn't playing defense anymore. That night, an encrypted email hit my burner account. "They told us you stole Fleetmaster. Now we're not sure who to believe." I stared at it for a long time but didn't reply. The hum of our servers filled the silence. It wasn't relief I was feeling. It was something heavier, more deliberate. Power, maybe. The quiet kind that doesn't need to announce itself. My personal phone rang at midnight. Unknown number, but I recognized the voice immediately. "Richardson, it's Mark. I hadn't heard from him in over a year. Operations guy used to be my closest friend at Mega Hall back when I thought loyalty ran both ways." "It's bad," he said, voice tight. "They're bleeding clients." 4 teams cut today, 19 people. Tyler's walking the halls like he's lost his mind. I'm not even sure who's running routing anymore. I didn't speak. "Just figured you should know," he said. Not all of us clapped that night. I hung up without answering. Look, I'm not proud of the guilt that tried to creep in. These were people I'd worked with, trained, pulled all-nighters beside. People with mortgages and kids and retirement plans that were suddenly in jeopardy. But then I remembered how they looked away. Every single one of them. Not one person spoke up when Tyler humiliated me in front of clients. Not one said, "This isn't right." Guilt doesn't survive long when you're staring down the same silence they gave you. Diana pushed fresh data the next day. Client migration is accelerating. 5 new carriers moved full operations last week. But here's the big one. She slid a tablet across to me. Pharmacold. I almost choked on my coffee. "You're serious?" "Stealth migration. No announcement. Their entire cold chain division is moving to our platform." Pharmacold wasn't just any client. They were the client. Temperature-critical pharmaceuticals, multi-million-dollar liability contracts. If they were switching, even quietly, the dominoes were already falling. The investigative article dropped 3 days later, like a bomb going off. Buried innovation. How Mega Hall erased the engineer behind Fleetmaster. Front page of 3 outlets by noon. Viral by dinner. The reporter, Julia Han, had done her homework. She'd traced internal documents, interviewed former employees, even got someone to leak Tyler's emails where he called my original system outdated thinking from the old guard. The embedded audio clip was just my voice, flat and factual. They stripped the core optimization logic and rebranded it. They altered performance metrics to hide system degradation. They buried the real platform because it didn't come from their inner circle. Side-by-side screenshots showed my original interface versus their corrupted version. The differences weren't just cosmetic, they were damning. My system could predict weather delays 6 hours out. Theirs couldn't handle a thunderstorm in real time. Mega Hall's stock tanked within hours. Board members issued the usual corporate nonsense about internal review and integrity first principles. Nobody was buying it. The TikTok video started that afternoon, and that's when I knew it was really over for them. Some warehouse guy filmed the inside of his refrigerated trailer, breath visible in the cold air, temperature gauge showing -5 degrees. Then he flipped his phone to show Mega Hall's app reading +15. "My trailer says -5, he said, grinning. "App says +15. Which one's right? My produce or their algorithm?" 30 seconds, tagged, #routing. Not working. By evening, there were 20 more videos. Wrong temperatures, crashed delivery chains, delays logged as early arrivals. One driver filmed a load of insulin vials sweating on a loading dock with the caption, "Temp logs clean, product spoiled. Thanks Mega Hall." Diana was monitoring our dashboards in real time. They're finished. Every cold chain route they push into their 2.0 system fails within hours. They can't track thermal variations anymore. I opened our client alerts. Pharmacold had submitted termination of all remaining contracts with Mega Hall that morning. Reason listed: inability to guarantee cold chain integrity. There it was. Game over. Internal Mega Hall memos started leaking the next day. Someone inside was really angry. Screenshots from company Slack showed Tyler blaming external cyber attacks and industrial sabotage for the system failures. Brad raised an eyebrow when he read that. Sabotage? That's his explanation? Beats admitting you built a house on sand, I said. So anyway, clients dropped off one by one. Smaller haulers first, then regional chains, then full logistics networks. By the end of the week, Megahall's routing tables were showing mostly blank. No active lanes, no monitoring, customer service rerouted to voicemail. Tyler went completely silent. No statements, no tweets, no LinkedIn updates. One day he was CEO, the next day he might as well have been invisible. Nobody really noticed when Wakefield began the formal rollout. No splash launch, no flashy demos, just quiet handshakes and signed contracts, client by client, clean deployments, stable performance that spoke for itself. Every time a new operation went live, we didn't celebrate. We just watched our system scale without breaking, handling loads that would have crashed Megahall's infrastructure in minutes. The Bloomberg alert came at 3:17 p.m. on a Thursday. Tyler Hutchinson removed as CEO of Megahall Dynamics. No statement issued. One line buried between stock tickers and fuel reports. That's how these things end sometimes. Not with explosions, just with quiet announcements that nobody reads. Brad saw it too, nodded once over his coffee mug. Nobody else said anything. Elizabeth called an hour later. You're on the nameplate this time. Press conference next week. For what? Official rollout. 22 states, Tier 1 clients, no more shell company. Time to put your name on it. My throat went dry for a second. And if I say no, then you're an idiot. You earned this. Don't argue with me. She hung up. The press conference room was all glass and whispers. New York, Midtown View, launch day. Elizabeth stood at the podium. No smile, no drama. This, she said, holding up a small black device, is what modern logistics looks like now. And this, she gestured toward me, is the architect who redefined the industry. Richardson. I walked out alone. No applause, just the quiet clicks of cameras. The badge around my neck read CTO in small block letters. That was enough. I stepped to the microphone, looked out at the room full of reporters and industry people. They told me I was obsolete, I said. I didn't argue. I just built what they said couldn't be built. No one clapped, they just listened. That was better than any standing ovation. A reporter in the front row raised her hand. Was it worth it? I didn't pause. All I did was prove they were wrong. That was it. No dramatic speech, no victory lap. I stepped back, nodded to Elizabeth, walked off stage. 4 blocks away in the cracked window of a co-working space, Tyler watched the live stream on a tablet with 8% battery, lagging Wi-Fi, but he saw enough. My name across the screen, my face under those lights. No anger in my voice, no revenge speech, just presence. Just a name that was never supposed to make it to that microphone. The stream cut to commercial. The tablet died. I kept the same office, same chair, same server hum in the background. But the weight was gone. No ghosts, no buried systems, no stolen credit. Just clean code, solid data, and my name where it always belonged. The system worked exactly like it was supposed to, like I'd built it to.